I'm Anthony Ford, and welcome to Kong Armor's Deck Armor Rewind, where we go back and we look at past projects that we've completed with the Kong Armor Lifetime Deck Armor system. And listen, this week I'm going to take you guys back. I'm going to show you a project that I completed. I traveled to do this project. It was called the Curved Pergola project, and you can see it there on the screen. The reason I want to go over this is this time when I did this last year, this was actually last year when we did this, I was super insanely busy. I had like 6 or 7 projects going on, and I did not have the time to really give this project, which was a killer project. I didn't have time to give it the sort of the media attention that it deserved, because this is one of the coolest projects that I've ever done as far as a structure restoration specialist is concerned, and as far as a resurfacing uh, aspect. It was both. It was really cool. So without further ado, we're going to dive into this. Now listen, this deck, I traveled to do this project. I traveled to Dayton, Ohio from Cincinnati, and I'll do that occasionally for really cool projects like this. Has to be a cool project, has to be something that's up there, something that tickles my fancy for us to go up there. It's not that far away. It's about an hour away, but um let's look at this pergola. As soon as we got on the scene here, this will be kind of loud for a second. Let's just skip past that. This is one of my guys. We had to get up on top of this pergola. Now, this is what's interesting about this pergola. 99% of pergolas don't have these curved splines in them. They're flat, right? Whoever built this actually took the time to mend all these wood pieces together, okay? And curve them out, and they wrapped them. How they did this was they pressed them all into a thing, and they wrapped them in this sort of I guess it was sort of like an aluminum or vinyl type deal that they wrapped them in to hold them all together. So inside of each one of these curved splines that you guys see here is just a bunch of wood pieces, like 2x4s or whatever it is that they used, and they they listen. I'm not a specialist at curving things like that with wood, but whoever did it, they did a great job. So the problem here was that this thing had a ton of rot in it. Had been protected with thin residential deck paints and stains its entire life. And unfortunately, I'll see if I can zoom in and show you here. I'll probably have some better pictures as we go through here, but we'll digest this one right now. Unfortunately, these splines, they sat on top of a flat surface. And where they landed at, there was a bunch of crevices and things there that, water could get down in, dirt and grime could get down in, and just cause rot and destruction. And that's what you're seeing here. You see these areas right here? Right there where it meets. Almost every single one of those splines, you can even see it over here, had an area of rot there. Okay? Now, also, the ends here, these end pieces were rotting and decaying. And you know how you can see when I zoom in here how I told you that these are just a bunch of pieces of wood cut together, and it's even more complex than that. When if you break open the outer thing, these are actually wrapped in something. It's hard to explain, but so the challenge for this homeowner okay, is they want to keep this curve. The problem is to reproduce this now in 2023 when I did this, to have somebody tear this down and rebuild it and do a curve for you like that, it's absurd. At Kong Armor, we have a special secret weapon for rot in wood, like this, little patches of rot in wood. We have a secret weapon. It's called Silverback epoxy. It's a two-part epoxy um, repair system that cures up like 3 to 5 times harder than concrete. And what we can do on structures like this, and we'll continue to go through here, is we can actually dig all that rot out, okay? And we can come in with that epoxy and kind of use it like a Bondo or that type of deal and rebuild those areas of rot. So instead of these people having to tear down this pergola, hire somebody to rebuild those arches and spend $20,000-$25,000, we can actually go in with this epoxy, Silverback epoxy, and rebuild those areas of rot, sand them a little bit, make it all blend in, and then coat it, and you never know the difference. But this was a major undertaking. It was a bigger deal than what initially meets the eye. There's a lot of rot in there, but it turned out to be a bigger deal than just digging the rot out, coming in, using a putty knife, sticking the epoxy down in there, and then sand. It turned into a way bigger deal than that, because what ended up happening is it ended up having way more rot than what we anticipated, and so we had to rebuild a significant amount of this pergola structure. And I'll show you here in a minute those ends that I was telling you about that had rot in them. These things, they had rot in them. We actually had to come in and cut a lot of those off. So we manually just came in and cut them off, and then we had to rebuild those out of wood and reattach them on the ends because they were so badly rotten that there was no restoring them. So it turned into a major undertaking. We got it done though, and I'll show you here in a minute. And then this project is more complex than just the pergola, which I'm getting ready to show you. I don't know how many pictures I took of him up there, but evidently a lot of them, huh? This gives you an idea of also, you see how that's curved and then it's got a cut in it and then a cut in it. So it's fancy, right? You can't just cut a little end piece and stick it on there. You actually have to custom cut it and all that, and it took a boatload of time. Okay, so this is the deck. Let me get a little drink here real quick because I'm dealing with some dry mouth. This is a laid back deal, right? So this is the deck that all this sits on. This is another reason that we went up there, was because this was appealing. I believe this, if I remember correctly, this was peeling Sherwin-Williams Deck and Dock, if I remember correctly. Super Deck, Deck and Dock. So their residential elastomer is what this was on here that was peeling. We were called in not only to fix the pergola, the rotten curved pergola, but also to encapsulate and lock down this peeling Super Deck, Deck and Dock deck coating. And boy, did it peel. This stuff, let me tell you, this is before we started washing. And once we started washing, I'll tell you, this stuff had almost no adhesion. It was just kind of sitting there on the deck system, which you're going to see here in a minute. Beautiful project. I mean, beautiful deck. When you look at it, this, listen, I get to work in some of the, when you have the world's toughest deck armor, and it has the ability to encapsulate and lock down peeling coatings and stuff like this, you get the opportunity, excuse me, to work in some of the most beautiful backyards and just beautiful places that you'll ever see. This was a historic house in Dayton, and the yard and everything around it was just beautiful, just a gorgeous place. This gives you a kind of a better understanding of what we were dealing with, right? There's the pergola, there's a patio, and then behind this pergola here, so back over in there behind that pergola is more decking. You know, it's about the size of this front deck right here. And then of course there's decking that's underneath of that pergola. What he's doing right there is we're using a special cleaner that just kind of lifts dirt and grime. So he's not actually cleaning right there. He's applying that cleaner, and then they'll come through. My guys are trained to come through with apply that cleaner, and then they'll come through with the high pressure, and it really helps with lifting dirt and grime. You guys got to hire people that know how to clean decks. I mean, when you guys hire people to refinish decks, like, there's a lot of times I'll look through Facebook. I'll be looking through Facebook, and somebody will hire this guy or that guy to refinish their deck. And when I see it, you know, they'll show a video or a picture or something of them starting to coat, starting to paint, whatever, starting to stain. The decks will be filthy. Now, man, those people got took to the bank. That's all gonna peel. I know, because doing this for a decade, I know when a deck is clean and when it's not clean. It has to be clean. This deck was filthy, and I got this deck clean. This is when they started washing. So you're going to see all that white paint that was on that pergola started popping off there. It started peeling. This is all dirt and grime and stuff coming off of that pergola. We've seen this already. That's a killer shot of the rot that I was dealing with on this project. Let's go in here and look at this for a second. This is what I had to deal with Silverback, where we had to come in and use the Silverback epoxy to rebuild these areas of rot. Look at this. That's the extent of this rot. Now look, when I tell you that these things were built really special, they were built really special. This in here is like a piece that's injected in there. So if you can kind of imagine, that's sort of a piece of wood that runs up through there. And then this is the outside piece. So this is the outside piece of wood, and then it's got an outside piece of wood, and then on the other side it's the same thing. So several pieces of wood in there, and then it's wrapped in sort of like this vinyl. Man, whoever built this, they were talented, and to replicate it would have been, today, talking up there. And they really wanted this curved pergola. I offered to tear it down. I said, hey man, we'll just come in, we'll tear that off of there and we'll build you. No, we want the curve. We really want to keep. Well, I bet you do, right? Because it's gorgeous. And it's what I do. It's my job. I restore structures. And so we dug all that out. And what I ended up doing is, because the rot was so extensive, we actually came in and we had these little wood blocks that we inserted up in there to kind of fill a lot of that void that was in there, because there was a lot. I mean, it would have taken just an unbelievable amount of epoxy fill a lot of these areas of rot. So we actually repaired them with pieces of wood in some of these areas. There were some smaller ones too, but in these big ones, we put the pieces of wood up in there, and then we filled it in with the Silverback, knifed it all flat, made it even, and then sanded it, and it turned out beautiful when we were done. I'll show you. And what's cool about Silverback is when you finish a repair like that, you can beat on it with a hammer, you can do whatever you want to do. It's solid. Here's an area that's simple, if I can get it over there, maybe not, to repair with Silverback. Kind of see down here, this is sort of normally what we would repair with Silverback. Just a little gouge or something out of a piece of wood that's rotten. We'll dig it out, stick it in there, sand it. These were much more significant. And as you can see, like I told you, they're in almost every single spline on this Pergola. Anybody but me, they were done. They were done. This shows you kind of what I'm talking about how this stuff, about how he wrapped these. You see the lip there? You see this lip? That kind of lip there? That's not, it's like a vinyl wrap that they stuck over everything. These had them too. They're on the top side, I believe. I believe he stuck them where they meet, where the lipping meets together. I think he stuck them on the top side so it so you wouldn't see it when you looked at it. But I can only imagine how much this would cost. Oh boy. Let's go in here and see where we were at. I think this is where we were at, yeah. Just a close-up look at that. More close-up look. There you go. That's normal for us to repair with Silverback, right? We just inject the Silverback in there. We dig that all out really good. Inject the Silverback in there. Knife it flat, sand it. And it'll make that as good as new. You'll never be able to tell the difference. Just a beat down Pergola. Here I am. Let's see what I'm talking about here. Probably nothing special. Yeah. I've already went over all that with them, dude. The deck system. This is that deck and dock that came off of there, like I told you. I mean, it just came off like massively. I don't even think that. It seems like we got a lot more than that off of it, but maybe that is all that we got off of it. Bad adhesion. Really bad adhesion in a lot of areas. That's right. The steps is where a lot of it came off. And you could see out here in the yard. Look out there in the yard. You see all those paint chips? It's just a lot of it came off. And unfortunately, that's a side effect of doing peeling deck paint lockdown and encapsulation, is we have to remove anything that's loose. And a lot of times that stuff flies. I ended up having to move the kid. You see back there the kids' toys and all that? I had to move it. I moved them further back because I was worried about them getting, you know, chunks of this coating in their toys and all that. I would want somebody to, you know, be respectful of my kids' toys too if they were flinging. Just a lot of it came off, as you guys can see. That's what that stuff is there in the yard. They're little sheets of peeling deck and dock is what that is. But I'm adequate at this now. I mean, we do this. The guys got all this prepped in one day. We came through, picked up picked up all these little things, as much of them as we can. That gives you a good look of what Deck and Dock looks like when it comes off in big sheets like that. Just zero adhesion, right? So uh, UV ray degradation is basically probably a lot of what happened there. Poor adhesion. There was some fastener corrosion, so rust and stuff like that had also caused some adhesion problems. And we brought them in something a lot better. Thick build, ultra tough. Let's go through here. That's a good shot of what it looked like. And listen, this deck did have fastener corrosion. I want to talk to you guys about that real quick. So, even though they had applied a residential elastomer, not an industrial elastomer like Kong, Sherwin Deck and Dock is thinner, usually finishes thinner than Kong does. Even though they had applied that, whoever did it didn't actually take the time to press into their fastener entry points. So the holes where the fasteners go, if you stick a screw in a deck, it leaves a little hole. Well, when you coat the deck system, if you don't get a thick build film that can cover over that hole and do what we call encapsulation, where we're closing that off where water can't get to it, you're going to end up with fastener corrosion. That corrosion causes board rot. It also causes adhesion failure to your coating system on your deck, right? But let's see if I can zoom in here and show you guys what I'm talking about. So even though they had used a thick build, sort of a thick build, Deck and Dock's okay as far as a residential coating is concerned. Even though they used it, they didn't take the time to come in and close all over the fastener entry holes. So they left all these open to water. And when you do that, it's ball game. And that's why I tell you guys constantly, you're wasting your money. You're absolutely wasting your money when you pay somebody to resurface a deck. And again, I see them all the time because I'm on Facebook, and people, oh, I just paid this guy to, stain or paint my deck, and they show you pictures of it, every single fastener entry hole open, every single crack in the deck floor open. And I just look and I'm like, yeah, you tossed all that money away. You threw all your, it looks pretty for a month, but you threw all your money away, right? Right. You threw all your money away because you didn't actually get any protection. You just got the color of your deck changed. That's it. And that's sort of the difference here at Kong. We have that absolute knowledge. We know. Me, my men know, we all know that if we don't cover your fasteners, it's a downhill ride for you, regardless of whether you properly protected your deck or not, right? I'm dealing inside of, okay, look, that's, we had to replicate those ends. That's the replication of them. Obviously, we weren't as talented as the dude that built it, right? We're deck restoration professionals. I'm sure he had a special mill that cut them and all that. But we got them super close. We got them so close that when you stuck them up there, you couldn't tell, right? So we got them really, really close, good enough. And we had to build more than this. So if I remember correctly, I think we had to build like 6 or 7 of them like this. Let's see. I think this is he had pulled the old ones off there and stuck them on, and he's sending me a video showing me. I hadn't made it there yet. He's showing me. Now, usually when Raymond does that, it's because he's proud of what he's done. He's like, "Hey, I fixed this. Look, you know." And he did. He did a good job of fixing those ends, because those ends were completely rotten, and these customers were shocked. They were going to have to tear that down and replace it, and he did a good. Yeah. And this, listen, this turned out drop dead gorgeous. The thick build, the ultra tough, right? The lifetime deck armor system, Kong armor, superior, better. Thick build is better. Industrial grade is better. Ultra tough is better. Encapsulation, lockdown, all your fastener entry points covered over. If we miss one, we're human. But all your fastener your entry holes I was telling you about, all covered over. Look, you don't see any on there. We might have missed one or something like that, but you guys can see the indentations of them, but there's film down in there that's covering them over, because I inspect all my decks after they're resurfaced. I won't mess with my guys if I find one fastener entry point that they missed that's not covered up. But if I start finding 2, 3, 4, you guys need to put more coating on this. You need to press into the fastener entry points. That's real protection for decks, because fastener corrosion is the #1 cause of deck death, period. It's #1. Fastener, screw, or nail corrodes, rust, causes board rot. Customer faces major restoration or replacement. So you won't see that on my decks, and that's what we were telling you about. Superior. I'm the best in the world as far as contractors making these coating systems, what we call lifetime deck armor systems. Superior resurfacing that nobody will match. I know, because when I do these, the resurfacing process that I designed to do these deck systems, to coat them and protect them and rebuild their surfaces, it's so thorough and takes so much more work to do, that you gotta want to be the best at doing it, or you're not going to do it. You're just flat out not going to do it. And look at that deck. It looks like composite. That deck system right there looks like composite. When I'm done with decks, you've never seen a protected deck. You've never seen a gorgeous deck until you've seen one of my coated in Kong armor, in the world's toughest. Until you've seen that. Once you've seen that, you're like, oh yeah, it's a pretty deck, dude. All that peeling, deck and dock, all locked down, all encapsulated. So they didn't have to rip any of that up, right? Because that's what they would have had to done. They would have had to rip it up, because there's no sand in or chemical peeling that. The cost to do that would be equivalent to the cost to rip it up and replace it. So they would have had. So just the deck system here alone, I saved them 20 grand. The Pergola, I saved them another 20 grand. I saved these customers 40 grand, probably, likely, on this project. No, let's say 30 to be safe. I know I saved them 30. And they walked with a lifetime limited warranty. Kong, our coating system, backed for life, locally. Our dealership's right here in Cincinnati. And these people are in Dayton, but they're only an hour away, right? So they got access to warranty for life. Also, Kong also has lifetime service promise. So we'll give them washings if they have some type of or abrasion or something like that. We'll do touch-ups for them. Regeneration capable for life, so they never have to completely paint, stain, or refinish their deck system again. Pow. Powerful. So I'm saving them 30. I saved them 30 on the front end. I'm getting ready to show you all the Pergola here in a minute. It turned out, saved them 30 on the front end 10 years from now. If they utilize their service promise, if they take care of their structure like they're supposed to, we'll save them another 30K on the back end, right? Look how beautiful. Look at this. And I was just so busy at the time that I didn't have. I should have gave this project a lot more media attention than what it got, because this was a big deal as far as a rescue is concerned. This is a big deal. I am very positive that there are deck builders in Dayton that looked at this project as far as rebuilding it that likely hate me. Looks brand new. Looks brand new. Looks like the day it was built and done. Looks brand new. Brand spanking new. Unmatched quality as far as structure restoration and coating, resurfacing, all in one shot. All in one shot. I've got all the pressure treated lumber that's air dried, where I can come in, I can restore any structure, doesn't make a difference what it is, and then we're going to encapsulate it. We're going to protect it in that lifetime deck armor, all in one shot, right? Pergola as well also has the lifetime limited warranty. This is all one structure. To my company, this is all one deck. The Pergola and the deck, the patio, it's all one structure. It's all covered under lifetime limited warranty, lifetime service promise. See? Those ends turned out just fine. Turned out beautiful. Can't tell the difference. You don't see no rot nowhere. Look how beautiful. You can't see where we came in with that epoxy and refinished it and dug out those areas and did the and sand. You can't see any of that, because when we come back over with the thick build Kong, we'll sand them out to the best we can. But it's good to have an industrial grade coating that's 30 to 60 times thicker than thin residential deck paints and stains, because it gives you the ability to have a little bit of surface imperfection if you do restore something. Once you come over top of it with that coating system, it takes a lot of the void and a lot of the imperfections out of it, and nobody can see it. I am positive that these customers did a backflip with the savings of this. I am absolutely positive. Didn't even get a thank you. I did finally via email, but he was out of town. When you save a structure like this and it's a significant amount, at the end of the day, you always like you seek that recognition, And he was out of town, so it was tough deal, But yeah, big time saved him on this one. That curved Pergola, man. I run into a few of them every now and then, but buddy, they're expensive to replicate in this day and age. Listen, this has been Deck Armor Rewind. We're gonna call this the curved Pergola episode is what we're gonna call this. We're gonna call this the curved Pergola rescue is what we're gonna call this. Got a Kong. If you live in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, Southeast Indiana, evidently if you live in Dayton as well and you have a decent project that's cool and interesting, we're doing a sell. It's getting ready to drop. Not a sell. It's a bad word. An offer. So on the 29th, to the general public, this offer will go out. It's called the Front Porch Back Deck offer, right? So if you guys do lifetime deck armor, the Kong armor system on your back deck, and you have a small front porch, decent sized front porch, whatever, we'll give you up to 30% off. This is what's going out to the general public. You can get up to 30% off the second structure, so your front porch will give you up to 30% off of that. Now, our email subscribers, so people that will be that are subscribed to Kong Armor's email, they're going to get an even better offer, and that's going to be dropping sometime later tonight. We'll go out in emails to them. Their offer has about $500, an extra $500 in value to it. Tell you what I'll do, down in the description below this video, wherever you're watching this at, if you do watch it, whatever, I'm going to put a link to our email subscriptions where you guys can sign up. If I was you, I would sign up for that, because they get offers that the general public doesn't get. They get specials that the general public doesn't get and doesn't ever even see. And if you're in the market to have your deck or whatever other structure, if you're in the market to have it restored, resurfaced, rescued, if you need peeling, deck paint, lockdown, any of the services that Kong offers, it would be highly intelligent of you to sign up for that email list. Okay? All right. Well, this has been Deck Armor Rewind, episode 4, the Curved Pergola Rescue. And I'm out. Thanks for watching, guys.